trustee, Libby, and I'll lead us in the pledge of the Texas flag.
Before I pray, let me remind what many of you already know, that one of our staff members, Patricia Lofton, has died, and her memorial service will be held on Saturday, this coming Saturday the 19th, from 10 to 11 at the First Assembly of God Church in Copper's Cove. Keep her family in prayer. Father, I thank you for a day of grace. Thank you for many things that rest upon our hearts and shoulders about people in need of prayer. So many griefs, so many heartaches, so many struggles, even our nation, things going on in the world that cause us concern. Help us to know that you're in charge. Help us to trust you in all of our ways, acknowledge you so that you can make our paths straight. And I thank you for that truth. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please follow me in honor of the Texas flag. Honor of the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
We have a quorum present, and this meeting is being recorded. Members of the public may access the meeting through the Central Texas College website. Now is an opportunity for members of the public to suggest the addition of topics for discussion or to address topics of interest, with the presentation limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone present who'd like to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move to the Chancellor's update. Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, sir. Let's see, what do I've got here first? Dr. Garrett and Dr. Isd have a presentation on marketing and recruiting. Let me preface that by saying I'm sorry, I sent out a Ray Perriman article, and the article was to let you all know that we are not unlike the other colleges in Texas and throughout the United States. It wasn't to stir up any kind of controversy. Just the fact of the pandemic has reduced our enrollments and the things by 20%, and that's across the board, it's across the United States. So I did ask Dr. Isd and Dr. Garrett if they would present some of the things they're doing to try to steer that in a more positive direction. So I'm going to let them do their presentation. And it gives you an idea that we're working every day. We've known about this for a couple of years. We've taken action, taken precautions, doing some things that we normally wouldn't have done, but they're doing yeoman's job of working out of the box, thinking out of the box to try to get our enrollments up. So, doctors?
Hi, good morning. We want to share a little bit with you what we do as far as student recruitment, and so Dr. Garrett and I teamed up because it is truly a team effort, and of course Dr. Carter and her team are part of that as well. So we'll share with you a bit of the dual credit agreements we have with the high school. So this group makes up a large part of our student body. We talk about other students that have finished high school. Dr. Garrett will go more into the recruitment and also some opportunities we have to expand on our existing relationships. So first, let's talk about Colleen Isd. So with the Colleen Independent School Districts, we have a variety of agreements for dual credit instruction. So one is for early college high school. That means we have students are assigned to this standalone high school. So the freshmen and sophomores are on Fort Hood. Juniors and seniors are here on campus taking courses. And for those students, generally the goal is to complete here with 60 semester hours. However, most of them get there, some of them don't, and of course Dr. Garrett's team, they try to scoop them up as they don't. So those are students enrolled in interdisciplinary studies. Another group of students we have here are dual credit STEM students. So those students come from different high schools. They're shuttled here to CTC. They come here for a half day, and they are in different tracks. So some complete 30 hours, some 45, and some 60 hours. And so their goal is, of course, to go somewhere into a STEM field. So beyond the core classes, they may be taking physics or chemistry or biology, computer science, engineering type classes. And then we have another group, those are the dual credit students, and those are primarily students that are taking CTC courses at their high schools. So of all student groups, that is probably, or not probably, that is the smallest group. We have about 173 students as dual credit students at the high schools. Our largest group are about 972 students. That's the early college high school group. And then STEM, we have 604 students. So you will see a lot of dual credit students on our campus enrolled in a variety of programs, including students that we teach in our hospitality and culinary arts. That is a cohorted group, and we teach them here. We teach restaurant skills and also baking certificate. A smaller group, so outside of KSD, we also serve Memorial Christian Academy. We currently have 11 students that we serve. For Colleen Isd students, Colleen Isd pays for the students' tuition and also for any course materials that students need. So needless to say, those programs are very popular, and it is, I think, fairly easy for the high schools to find students to go into these programs. So we're continuing with Copper's Cove ISD. So Copper's Cove, we also have a dual credit agreement, and under that dual credit agreement, we have students at the high school taking courses and also early college. So early college are the students that come here to our campus and take courses. We have a group that goes to the automotive program, so they come for half day and they take some automotive courses. We have students going into welding and also EMT. So different programs, and the high school counselors do a great job sitting with the students trying to find out what they're interested, what they would like to do. And Copper's Cove also, it's a little bit different for the early college program that falls under dual credit. The district pays for the tuition and the materials. For the dual credit courses, they pay depending on if they're on free or reduced lunch. It varies a bit what the students pay. And then we also serve Copper's Cove Charter Academy, so we currently have 4 students from there. Let's see. I think that's you, Dr. Garrett, that part.
Yes. Dr. A, you mentioned some of those for our service area, but we do have a lot of other dual credit agreements, that's within our district, but outside in our service area as well. Now, talking about continuing enrollment or getting new students on board, the whole recruiting aspect of this, one of the first and biggest things I think we do to attract high school students is the letter that my marketing department sends out from the Chancellor to every high school graduate, accepting them to CTC and congratulating them on their high school graduation. I think that's an amazing tool that the Chancellor came up with, saying, we really need to send something to these students, and we started doing that several years ago, that tells the students, hey, you can come here. You've been accepted to CTC. Yes, we're an open enrollment institution, but getting that letter in hand is a way to say, come, we welcome you. We also do what's called a 95% plus completion outreach for or graduation. The graduations department under Debbie Hansen, they run a report at least once a year to look at students that are close to graduation or ones that we can give a certificate to or a degree to if they've completed based on the number of classes. Because if you think about it, we have specific programs that have specific courses, but we also have the general studies and interdisciplinary studies, as well as many, many certificates that students may complete, and they might not even realize that they could graduate. So we run this assessment and determine those that we can graduate, and then those that are close to graduating, and we contact them and say, hey, you only need 1 class, come back, let's get you finished, type thing. And it seems to be working. We graduated a whole bunch of certificates last year.
And Dr. Garrett, we get paid for that.
Yes.
That's why we push that initiative. So
That's a very
mention
good
that.
point. we get success points based on our completion numbers. So, yes, there's an ulterior motive other than just having our students be successful. We get money. Yes, sir. And then the Student Success and Persistence Department, SSP, they do what's called a stop-out report. And they look at students that haven't returned. So if they attended last semester but they haven't come back this semester, they reach out and try to find out why and how we can help them to come back and what we can do to make that transition for them and bring them back to CTC. Many of them we find have gone on to a university, and we find that some just say, you know, I'm working, I can't get back. I'm taking care of my family. I got a good job already. I don't need to finish. We still encourage them, but then some say it's financial. And if that's the case, we do our best to help them to find a way to pay for college to come back. And they have many, many other reasons too, but those are the big ones.
Can you mention reverse transfer with Texas A&M Central Texas?
Yeah, we that's a good thing that we do. We have an agreement with many colleges, but specifically with Texas A&M Central Texas, to have students that have moved on to there come back, and we do a reverse transfer and accept the credits here that they took there to complete their associate's degree, and then we get a completer. Money again. And then we also look at students to make sure that they're on track. Now, you say a 3-year or a 6-year graduation, we're a 2-year institution. The majority of students don't complete in 2 years. So the coordinating board and Texas Success Center, they look at 3- and 6-year completion rates. So we're trying to increase our completion rate for 3- and 6-year. So we're focused on, each year we focus on those students to see if we can get them to graduate in 3 years or 6 years so that our numbers will go up on those reports. And we have a new target that Student Success and Persistence is really focusing on this semester. They're focusing on dual credit students that haven't completed with us, whether that be early college, high school, STEM, or just straight dual credit. And they're sending out letters to them, emails, contacting them to say, hey, we're still here for you. Let us help you complete. Let us help you reach your goal. And it's going to be a July, August thing moving forward, but the first real push is March 1st. Now, I'm not going to go over all of these. These are some, I say some, of the recruiting activities that we're doing at the high schools and in the community. And many of these are multiple items that will go out many times during the year. So, and then this, like I said, this is just some of them that the team does. Where's the rest of them? Come on. Come on. There we go. Oh, these are going one at a time. You know how this goes. Okay. But let's see, one more? Yeah, I think that's it. All right. But like I said, this is some of them and some of the activities that our departments do. And this includes many of the academic departments come out to some of these events with us and help students see. You've heard, I think a couple months ago, you heard about how the students really enjoy hearing from the faculty in the orientations and in some of these road shows and things we do. And we invite the academic departments to come to a lot of these events. So, I think it's your turn.
All right, so that was just a little snapshot of what we do as far as recruiting. Hold on a second, I think I'm hitting the wrong button. Here we go. So of course we talked about, we started off telling you a bit about our relationship with the high school students. That is, dual credit students are really the largest student group on our campus right now. But certainly we serve all students, whether they're here, they're really across the globe, whether they're coming here face-to-face or doing online classes, whether they're military, kids in high school, adults who want to retool. We want to reach all of them. So here are some opportunities for growth that we have coming up in our next school year. Coppers Cove ISD, Dr. Fisher and I and Janelle Deal met with representatives from Coppers Cove ISD, so they're very interested in starting up hospitality program again. We taught it for them before. also have a track for students to join robotics, and also teacher education. So we're looking at to potentially having agreements with them in this coming school year for those areas. Colleen Isd is also interested in robotics and teacher education, so they have approached us about that, and this is right around the time that we are reviewing our agreements, so those will be some that hopefully will materialize in the next year. And also Richard Milburn Academy in Colleen is looking into having some dual credit courses with us. They would like to send students to them. And let's see, do you have anything else, Dr. Garrett?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Unless you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Just-
Yes, yes,
You,
ma'am.
you showed us a couple of slides that indicate two private schools, 2 or 3 along the way. I know how KISD and Cove pay for theirs. How is it managed for those schools? Those campuses?
I am not sure. I am not sure. I think in the past it is that the students have paid for them.
Okay.
Because right now we have 4, I think we had 4 students in one and 11 in another.
You did
So it's been
mention that.
very, very small groups. Of course, you know, let's say, for example, Richard Milburn is only graduating 60 students. So for the most part, I believe the students have paid by themselves for the classes.
Can you find out, would you let me know?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to.
And so the glide path you were talking about, the 3 to 6 year glide path for graduation, that's about right. Because like when I was when I got my bachelor's degree, I was taking about two, sometimes three classes like murder when you're a full-time active duty soldier.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
It took me 7 years to
Yeah.
get my associate's degree. So-
It took me 7 years from when I started after my freshman year of college, when I started back to school, till I completed my bachelor's requirement. So it took me about 7 years to do that. That's every single semester, taking two classes.
That's right.
So the question I had was, when a student stops going to school, and you try to communicate with them to get them back in, are y'all trying to do that virtually or in person?
Most, can I? Oh, sorry. Most of the time, it's via emails, texts, phone calls, things like that, because getting them in here in person is virtually impossible. The word virtually.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. That's what I was trying to figure out, is if y'all were trying to reach out in virtual world or get them to come in on campus and talk to them.
We'd love for them to come in. Once we reach out, if they show interest, we try to obviously get them in. But we still do a lot of the majority of our academic advising is face-to-face, but we are still doing a lot of virtual advising as well still.
Are we trying to get out of the virtual advising and get them back in person?
You know, students love the virtual advising option. They really do. It's convenient for them, and it's not just a conversation. We can show them their degree plan on the screen. It's almost as good as being together.
Well, the reason I was asking, because I do talk to a lot of college students and stuff out there. But what I feel is a face-to-face conversation is always better than going over a Zoom channel type communication. Because when you can reach out and when you talk to someone face-to-face within about 3 to 6 feet away,
Yeah.
and you can show them on your terminal exactly what's going on, and you can place them in their classes and stuff. It's part of a good selling process where you can get them involved in what's going on instead of having to do it on their own and stuff. It's better to entice them, bring them in, and talk to them.
Yeah.
It's part of the sales process. I mean,
Yeah, and I agree, but actually we do that same exact thing virtually. But we have the majority of our students that do want advising, do want to come in. But there's a lot of them that just feel more comfortable sitting at home and doing it virtually still. That may change as COVID things change. I don't know, but yeah, we like having options for the students. Meet them where they are, is what we're trying to do.
back to how it used to be is maybe where we need to start trying to get back to, instead of the new normal, make it the normal. And because it worked in the past. And we should be trying to do that what worked instead of trying to invent new ways of doing things and make it easier. Go back to the ways that actually worked.
Thank you.
That's the way I feel about it.
Well, thank you for your input. Appreciate it.
Dr. Garrett, to follow up on Mr. Pierce's comments, and by the way, congratulations to you for finishing, for staying with it.
Because not everybody does.
Yes, sir. The question about success points or about completion, are we still getting beat up over students that just enroll in a course or maybe a couple of courses and they move on and they're stuck in that, they didn't complete with us? Is that still a problem for us with the state?
Yeah, it still does reflect on us. We do have the ability to label transient, but I don't know if how much that really affects the numbers. We do have a pretty low completion rate as far as we're looking at it in comparison statewide, and I think that's exactly from what you're talking about. But the ones that we do get to complete, we're not given the success point dollars based on a percentage. We're given the points based on actual number of completions. So the persistence rate and the success rate, it's just a rate that we have to keep addressing and trying to improve on. But right now, we're only getting funded based on contact hours and the different success points.
My older granddaughter did her first 2 years in a community college, not this one, and then transferred to a 4-year university. And she was contacted by the president of the community college, personally, by the way, and explained to her that she had acquired sufficient resources to be a graduate, but she just didn't apply for graduation. I didn't know why at the time. I know why now, but James's point, sometimes, some people are visual learners and some people are hearing, audio learners, and we just have to deal with people wherever they are.
Yeah. Well, we're addressing that by auto grad is what we do, so.
And I do have one answer for you, Ms. Coley. On one of the two I can tell you. So for Coppers Cove Charter Academy, we currently have 11 students, and those students pay for books and tuition. So I still owe you an answer on Memorial Christian.
Thank you. I want to compliment you both on and particularly our marketing department, also in the pursuit of these students, because think about the kids that you text, your friend, younger friends that you text. They prefer not to hear your voice. They just want to text and get it over with. So you guys have really found some unique ways to reach out to them. So, and I have to believe it's more than just the dollars, Chancellor. It's because they care about students also. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, what else do I have? Mr. Harmson. Mark, Mr. Harmson wants to talk about the mini ice age we just had a week or so ago, and some damage. And Mark, you want to cover that?
Yeah, I just want to give a brief update. Ever since the last winter storm freeze, I think everybody remembers the previous February, we'd been taking actions to try to minimize any potential damage throughout campus. So we've been looking at water lines, we've been looking at heat trace, looking at sprinkler systems, et cetera. This particular cold weather event, the campus did not lose any power or heat. The only damage that the college sustained was a ruptured makeup coil, which was on the roof of the campus center right above us. And so we did have some water that entered the ballroom here, and then through some of the floor chases, some of the floor outlets, ended up getting into the kitchen area below. We had a really great response from staff from both facilities as well as Great West Dining. We were able to go ahead and come in that weekend to go ahead and begin some of the cleanup efforts. And so we continue to look at ways of trying to minimize the impact of the cold weather. Hopefully it's done, knock on wood, for this year, but you never can tell, so we want to try to be as prepared as possible. So happy to answer any questions if there are.
Thank you, Mr. Harmson.
That completes my report, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So, we have two department chairs giving updates today. Dr. Cook chairs our Social Behavioral Science Department, which Dr. Cook, is it the largest or second largest? The largest, right? Largest department that we have as far as enrollment goes, because primarily our core courses fall in that area. And then we have following Dr. Cook is Ms. Debbie Prescott, and she is the department chair for math and for robotics and for engineering and for drafting and design. So here you go, ladies.
All right, good afternoon. So I'm Tracy Cook, the chair of the Department of Social and Behavioral Sciences. As you can see, there are 8 separate disciplines that fall within our department. We offer an associate's degree in social science, and we also house the Associates of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies and General Studies. So basically, we house the degrees that are geared toward getting students to a 4-year institution, just the basic liberal arts framework that'll get you into any degree that you want to lead into. Fields of studies, this is not a new topic in Texas, but it is getting renewed interest by the state. And so what we have so far with regard to field of studies, so first of all, from the state's definition, there are sets of courses that fulfill lower division, freshman and sophomore requirements for bachelor degrees and majors that correspond to the field of study. So the idea is that if a student, let's say, wants to be a political science or a government major, that they could take a certain amount of government courses with us and then transfer those to a 4-year institution where the institution would take those as those government courses in that degree plan. So it's more than just the core, that 42 hours that will transfer. It gets them a little bit further into their specific degree plan that they want to follow. And the state is very interested in making sure that transferability is a lot more seamless and less time-consuming for students, are not wasting classes. So far we have the field of studies for political science, we call it government at CTC, and sociology, those are intact. We're fortunate enough that in both sociology and political science, we have individuals from our department who have been recently appointed to the subcommittee that's going to work on those fields of studies. So Dr. Arriaga, who you guys will meet next week at the board meeting, she'll present for you on this very topic. She actually met with her subcommittee last week, so she'll be able to give you information on that. And then I will be part of the political science subcommittee that meets. I believe it's next week that we meet. Enrollment summary, I'm pretty sure all the departments are, providing you with this information. I remember last time I presented this information to you, it was in 2018. So we weren't yet quite into that downward trend that we are now. Everybody's aware of, all of the factors that feed into this. Obviously in the last 2 years, this just gives you some detail information on that, divided into online courses, lecture courses. This information is enrollment for courses within our department. So all of the courses that we offer on Central Campus, which includes online courses, which are all offered through our Central Campus department. I will say one thing, if we look at the current spring numbers, obviously there's not going to be a plot on the trend line because we're in this current academic year, so we don't have that. But if we look at the spring 22 numbers, we're still having spring enrollments, and if we look at the lecture number, it's actually up, and we still have enrollments coming in for March starts and whatnot. And historically, spring enrollments are always going to be lower than fall enrollments. That's just a function of higher education. So the fact that it's not lower is a good indication that, perhaps we have bottomed out and, we're rebounding a little bit. We'll see, obviously, but I was hopeful when I saw that. Initiatives we're very fortunate to have faculty in our department that still research. That makes them amazing in the classroom. They're staying fresh and energized in their discipline. We have several faculty that within the last year have published. I just wanted to bring your attention to one because of the topic. Dr. Merv Roberts, he just recently published an article in the Air and Space Power History publication on Robert Manning Gray, and because of the local, hero aspect of this, I thought you guys would be interested in it. And I can share a link for this article. It's open access, and so you all can read it. Dr. Fisher has a great little summary of his views on it. It was very, I think it encapsulated very well. But like I said, the faculty in our department are just very active in their publications, which is rare for a community college and amazing. The second thing I wanted to bring your attention to is the Psi Beta Psychology Honor Society. This is very active at CTC. They hold an annual symposium in the spring, so probably in April sometime we'll actually nail down the date and hold it. Psi Beta, as a National Honor Society, students have to have taken a certain number of psychology classes and have a certain GPA in order to qualify, and then they go through an induction ceremony, and then they spend the year planning for and working on a research project where they perform original research, and then in the spring they host a symposium where they present their research and then host a speaker on the particular topic of study that they're working on. So it's a great opportunity for the students to, be academic, right? And this transitions then at the four-year institutions. The Honor Society is called Psi Chi, and Texas A&M Central Texas has had it off and on. They have a hard time keeping it going, but it's active again. And so we're going to try to, work with them again. And what we would love to do is have a joint, venture with them. Again, if they can just keep it active, then we can we can continue to work with them. But definitely a feather in our cap is the Psi Beta Honor Society work that's done. And all three of our psychology full-time faculty members are mentors and work with the students on this. So it's not just one, it's all of them are part of the process. All right, any questions?
I'd like to thank Dr. Cook. I mean, not typically we see this level of participation activity at a community college, and she and Dr. Arriaga are both on the coordinating boards specific disciplines as subcommittee members. So, and that's huge because what do you have? How many members do you have on that committee?
So I haven't met with mine yet. I'm guessing there's going to be between 20 and 30. I'm not
You think
exactly
it's that
sure.
many?
Okay.
Is it going to be that many? Okay. But out of 50 community colleges and then universities across the state, you can imagine she's one of the few. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is the mathematics,
Wait,
engineering.
sir, we got-
Design Express Management Department update. Ms. Prescott.
Okay.
That's me. Never mind. Okay, so I'm the chair for the mathematics department, and we have 5 programs that are in our department. Math Express is our developmental studies math, engineering, robotics, and drafting and design. So just an overview of the programs we have. Our Math Express now is really with our mathematics program. We have an Associate of Arts degree for that's 60 hours. Engineering is the same. Those are both designed to prepare students to go on to a 4-year institution. And both transfer seamlessly to most 4-year institutions, public institutions. Our drafting and design, we have stackable certificates that lead to an Associate of Arts degree. And then robotics is our newest program, and it's very similar. We have a certificate of completion that is stackable and leads to our Associate of Arts degree in robotics. So similar to what Tracy's just showed you, we've seen kind of a steady decline in enrollments from fall 2019 pre-pandemic to fall 2021 post-pandemic. I kind of expected there would be a little bit of a uplift in fall 2021, but there was not. We are, though, like Tracy, in a couple of our programs, seeing better enrollments now this spring, which is a good sign. We have a couple that are not, but but it looks like we're kind of maybe bottoming out there and hopefully turning around and it'll look better this next fall. We have a big online math program, by the way. Lots of numbers there for us. So updates, Math Express, we rebranded our developmental math program so that it didn't have such a negative sound, developmental, and to be Math Express, and now that we have co-requisite classes as required by the state. And so basically we'll start you wherever you need to start and get you through quickly through the college level math course. We've had co-recs for statistics, contemporary math, and college algebra, and now we have a new co-requisite for the Math 1414, which is college algebra for students on the STEM track. We are now 100% co-rec for the Math Express program. We don't teach any standalone developmental math classes, and that's another requirement now by the state. We will continue outreach efforts to increase dual credit enrollments in the service area. We're very active in the service area in our department. I mean, who's going to volunteer to take math as their dual credit class? We realize that. And so we're very active, and we have someone designated who reaches out to our counterparts, whether it be the instructor of record at the high school campuses or the math teacher that will be in the classroom as a facilitator. And we make sure they are trained in the programs that we use so that they're familiar with the content and the rigor and how to work, My Math Lab or Blackboard and those kinds of things. Everyone's comfortable. That's how we take care of the evaluations for those instructors as well. But it's a continuous process, because if they have turnover in guidance and counseling or principal or math teacher, then sometimes it can just fall off and they forget about dual credit math, and so we got to kind of go back and remind them, hey, offer some dual credit math. Engineering, we have a seamless transition to TAMU CT's Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering Technology. And at this point, 100% of our CTC engineering graduates have been accepted to a four-year institution. That's really good. But we also know of some of those now who have graduated. We have some who have graduated from A&M in aerospace engineering. We've had some that have graduated from Texas Tech petroleum engineering. Some have graduated from UT. Just kind of all over the place, and they've been very successful. So we're pretty proud of preparing those students to succeed at that level. This is one of the programs that we see an increase this spring. So we're up in enrollments thanks to offering more of those classes online, the engineering classes. Drafting and design, we're continually seeking partners to help us with internships and employment. The students who we have in the program right now who are completing already have jobs lined out, and so that's exciting and good. Again, our drafting and design program changed formats about 2 years ago. We went to competency-based education similar to the other programs in the CATE Center, and we immediately jumped from 35 enrollments to 53, which was really good. But then COVID, then the pandemic hit. And so now we're kind of increasing and getting our way back up, and we're back up to 36, but it's very flexible for the students to work in their own time and complete as many as they want to complete. They're not bound by the 16-week semester, and so that's adds some flexibility for them, and it's helped our enrollments. Robotics, I didn't know if you noticed, but the enrollments were 0 on that other page. Wow, it's a great program that has come along at a really bad time. The pandemic has kind of been messing with us on that, and we've had a hard time getting it off the ground and rolling. I guess our first semester, we didn't have money in the budget for the equipment, and it's not cheap. But then we got Perkins grant, and we got the equipment, and we got it all set up, ready to go. And we have met with guidance and counseling to discuss the program and have them help us push that to students. We've done the marketing, Facebook Live. We've traveled and visited with high school campuses. And so this is part of the reason why now Copperas Cove and the Career Center are interested in doing the dual credit. for robotics. And so we're expecting in the fall of 2022, we will offer those dual credit classes to them and get it kicked off. And we're also going to offer the first 2 that don't require the robotics equipment to be offered online, so maybe we'll get some enrollments that way. Any questions?
Question, Mrs. Prescott?
Yes. And you mentioned Math Express, and you changed the name from Developmental Math. What instrument are you using to determine whether there's a need for the remedial courses or that they are ready to move into the other one, to
Right.
be successful?
Right, well, ideally, the tool is the Tsi Assessment, which is the state's test. And so it's been a little bit, there's been some waivers and stuff going on during the pandemic time, but ideally, everyone takes the Tsi Assessment, and that will tell them where they are and based on the score, where they need to start. And so, you know, if they're willing to put in the effort, they can be successful as long as we know, we place them correctly. We've been doing pretty well, though, with it based on the new TSI. We have a new TSI assessment. Students have been seem to be placing correctly and being successful.
But if there are students that are really having difficulty, when we used to rely on the developmental, what is there something in place?
Yeah,
Or-
so the old way, we used to have 3 different developmental courses, and a lot of students would place in the lowest one, and they would have to do 16 weeks of 0300, and then 16 weeks of 0301, and then 16 weeks of 0302. So they're 3 semesters in, and they haven't even touched the college level math class yet. And so the state said enough of that. That's you're wasting everybody's time. And a lot of them would not even get to that point. They would stop before they got there. And so with the co-requisites, the way we have it now, there are a few students, depending on their score, that will take that lowest level first, but most of them place in the mid-level, and they can take the co-requisite, which means they complete the level of developmental at the same time that they're completing the college level course, and they do them together. So they're doing a lot of math for sure, like every day they're doing some math, but a lot of them are able to get that done, and it's one and done, one semester done with everything, even though they placed in the developmental.
Thank you.
You know, I'd like to also point out, in the engineering department, due to Ms. Prescott's leadership and her faculty down in the engineering department, that Dr. Taylor
Mr.
Harvey got
Yeah.
sent here by A&M. You know, our students going down to A&M were performing so well in the engineering department, they came up and wanted to see what we were doing that prepared these students. And as a result of that, they put a grant together, and John Sharp signed that and sent Taylor Harvey here. And with the provision that Taylor Harvey would teach 2 classes with her every semester, so
Yeah.
it
And
worked
so
out really well.
we did that. Yeah, Mr. Jackson is the program coordinator for engineering. He's amazing, and the students will listen to him. They can go and do whatever they want to do. And so he does a great job preparing them for wherever they want to go. So we do transfer seamlessly to Texas A&M, but we're seamless to just about any of those other institutions I mentioned earlier too. He does reach out and contact and make sure that our classes will transfer.
You were saying like sometimes some students take the developmental math and the college level math at the same time. Would you feel that the ones that successfully complete that are the college students that have been out of school for about 4 or 5 years that took that advanced math in high school and then laid out of college for a few years and came back? Or is it the opposite, where coming right out of high school, they can take them at the same time and be successful?
It just depends on where what their test scores are on that TSI assessment. And we do visit with them if they're close on that, a bubble score, to see if there are other factors going on, like what did you take in high school and when was it? But math is like any foreign language. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so if it's been a few years, you might place in the developmental, even though at some point you did take, pre-cal in high school. And those people are going to probably catch back up pretty quickly, but they still start wherever they.
There's nothing wrong with taking
No,
developmental
not at
courses.
all. That's why we changed it to Math Express.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that you all understand the importance and are as proud of Ms. Prescott and Dr. Cook as we are. They've done a tremendous job here over the last few years, so thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Pathways presentation, Dr. Garrett.
Get your roller skates on.
What?
You have to have your roller skates on today.
I
You're
know, I'm going
and
to be
forth.
back and forth, back and forth. Ms. Prescott just gave me permission to make another announcement, follow up to her presentation. Sam Jackson, who she mentioned about the engineering, is serving tomorrow on a committee that I'm leading for the coordinating board in robotics. So as Dr. Cook mentioned, she had her and the other person is doing the TTAC committee. Sam Jackson is serving on the WECM Advisory Committee for Robotics. So I'm pleased to be working with him tomorrow on that. Okay, Texas Pathways. There we go, Texas Guided Pathways. Ms. Coley, you had asked me to do this many months ago, and I apologize for it taking so long. So hopefully I'm going to answer all your questions in this presentation. What is Texas Guided Pathways? Well, I don't normally like to read, but the definition, I'm just going to read it flat out to you and then give you some information. The Guided Pathways model is an integrated institution-wide approach to student success and equity based on intentionally designed, clear, and coherent educational experiences that guide each student effectively and efficiently from his or her point of entry through to attainment of high-quality post-secondary credentials and careers with value in the labor market. That's what Texas Guided Pathways is, and basically it provides the student with a pathway guidance from the start to the finish to get them to their career or transfer goal, whatever their goal is. That's what Texas Pathways is about, and ensuring that the institution has developed ways for the student to recognize what that pathway is and the proper advising and support systems put in place to help that student move through their path. And there are 4 pillars in Texas Pathways. The first one is about connecting, mapping the pathways to the student end goals, which I just mentioned. Making sure that what we have recognize the multiple entry points that students come to us from. They might come to us from high school. They might come to while they're in high school, after high school, an adult coming to college after they've had part of their career to revamp on their skills, to upgrade, upskill, reskill, that sort of thing. From continuing education. There are many different places that they can come into us and as well as leave. There are many different opportunities throughout their career at CTC to leave. So this is what the first pillar is, to recognize all of those opportunities for these students and have program maps for that. The second is helping the students enter that path and be successful while they're in that path. Many times, as Ms. Prescott mentioned, a student may have to come in at the developmental type level, but now with the state having co-requisites, that's another way to help them enter and get right into college, where before they were held back with having to stay in developmental, sometimes for 3 semesters. And then there's also a push for accelerated remediation. She mentioned that sometimes they come in at the lowest level, and they do have to have what we have called the NCBO, the non-course-based options for students. But that's accelerated to move them up so that they don't spend forever in getting them into college by keeping them in the developmental side. Number 3 is keeping the students on the path, the progress, making sure that they progress through the college experience. And one of the things that is important for students to have is predictable schedules, and they're really pushing that so that we have our classes mapped out. They know what they can take when. And we have a program in Colleague that allows them to map their degree plan. So that's very important. And we've done a lot of work on our paths for our students. Another thing, part of this is early and intrusive advising to ensure our students stay on the path that they're on. as well as academic and non-academic supports, because there are a lot of non-academic supports that we're finding students need nowadays. And the fourth pillar for pathways is ensuring that students are actually learning. We have to map our outcomes, our program and class outcomes, to careers or to transfer or to a credential, whatever their goal is. We have to make sure that our courses meet that need. And one of the other things that we look at in this fourth pillar are teaching practices. What are some of the best teaching practices? So who at CTC does Texas Pathways? Well, it's everybody. Everybody at CTC is involved in Texas Pathways. But it's not only CTC, it's the feeder, which is the ISDs, as well as where they go after, which could be any of the universities. And then Keisha works a lot with employers, because that's another place that we have to be sure that we gear our students and get our students ready to go out into the real world. We do have a focused team. The Institution Action Council, while we have two main leaders of this, Ellen Falkenstein and Anelia Fairfield, two people can't do it. The Institutional Action Council is initially set up as a cross-functional, cross-institutional sharing committee, but they've taken on the role as advisors and help for this Texas Pathways. This is a big, big project, and it takes a lot of people to make it work. I don't know if you recall, but we were very excited last year when we were bumped from Cadre 3 straight up to Cadre 1 based on the work that these people have done at Central Texas College to promote Texas Pathways. And we skipped Cadre 2. We were promoted straight from 3 to 1. We did that good. And then at the last institute, I think you remember, maybe it was last month, the month before, we mentioned that we received the Rising Star Award for Texas Pathways. You may recognize this, Ms. Coley. This was what was discussed in your trustee institute that you attended. It was about the rethinking, and that's what this whole Pathways process is about. It's about rethinking program mapping, about rethinking student onboarding, about rethinking student advising and what we can do to help the students stay on their path, get in here, stay on their path, and complete whatever they want to complete, whatever their goal is. And of course, we have to map everything we do, if it takes employee time or dollars, to our CTC strategic plan. And of course, our priority 1 is enhancing student success, which is what Pathways is all about, increasing completion rates for our certificate and degree-seeking students, which is our goal 1.1. And 1.2 is enhancing services and processes to promote student success. That's exactly what Texas Pathways is. So it ties directly to our strategic plan. And our priority 3 is continuous assessment and improvement of operations and services. And that's what we just said in the last slide about rethinking what we do, continuous improvement. We're always looking at that in this Texas Pathways process. By decreasing barriers to enrollment and completion, we help our students gain what they're interested in. So through the Texas Success Center, as well as the coordinating board, they provide us with dashboards that we can look at, the data. And these dashboards, anybody can go out and look at them. They're not private. Anybody can go out there and see the information and compare us to other institutions. And the ones that we've been focused on in the past are the persistence, the 3-year earning a credential, persistence from term 1 to term 2. What are our rates? How many students complete and successfully complete 15 or more credits in a year, or 30 or more credits in a year? These are things that we analyze and look at in these institutes, and we continue to look at them outside the institutes. We attend the institutes twice a year, but throughout the year, we have to continually work on this project and our action items that we develop at each of these institutes. And then we look at the transfers. after 3 years? How many students transferred? And that's what we've been really looking at. Now, this new institute's going to have a whole nother focus, even though it's focusing on the progress. The Pillar 3 is what's going to be the focus. And again, learners from multiple entry points and to where they want to go. And we're going to focus on their progress. And by doing that, the data we're going to look at is we're going to try to figure out where these students gain and lose momentum. We're going to be looking at the student support models and processes that we have in place to see if we need to refine them in any way. Look at the differential impacts that we have, our practices have on historically minoritized groups, as well as develop that action plan to address these 3 outcomes that we're supposed to address in this April Institute that we're going to. So I hope I answered the questions about Texas Pathways. Is there anything else?
I just want to make a comment. I particularly appreciate you following through and making this presentation happen, because when Jim and I attended the conference, it was one of the most thought-provoking, interesting conferences that I've attended in a long time. And I not only wanted to know that we're working on those things, but also I wanted to encourage, Jim and I talked about this, I wanted to encourage all my colleagues on the board to come with next time this occurs, because I felt like I learned more about other tools that I have at my disposal to learn more about the college environment now and what you guys are doing to help these students. There are 2 things that I keep in my car at all times. It's that conference material about pathways and the budget. It's always in my car. So that really struck a nerve with me. So thank you for presenting it today. And there's so much more. And if you can, maybe send everyone the link to get to some of the tools.
Okay.
Or the tool that we can see what is happening at other sites. But I really just enjoyed it, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was very interesting when I was researching what I wanted to be sure I understood what you saw at there so I could properly address your inquiry. And I went out there and I looked at the presentation that you had, the trustees' presentation, so that I could ensure that I got you the information.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And that's, to know that Pathways affects everything we do at the college. That affects all of what the departments are doing, and eventually it affects the budget. So thank you for all of that leadership, Dr. Garrett, and the rest of the faculty and staff. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the program and course evaluations. Mayor, Dr. Garrett, Dr. Eady.
Hello again. Ms. Coley, I used my lifeline, so I have an answer for you. And so dual credit students at Memorial Christian also pay their own tuition and books when they enroll. All right, so here it is. Dr. Garrett and I again, different topic. So this time we're going to talk about program reviews and how we look at different programs, how, well, let me get to the slide. The role of advisory boards, how we conduct our reviews, complete a report, coordinating board rules, and also actions we take, depending on what we find. So let's see. Sorry, here we are. The guidelines for instructional programs and workforce education explain to us how advisory boards should work. So advisory boards are very important for our career technical programs because obviously they help us. Here you see, help a college document the need for a workforce education program. So first of all, we need to make sure there is a need. And then we want to make sure that when we offer a program that we have adequate resources, well-designed curriculum, that students essentially, when they graduate from this program, that they go into the workforce and they are well prepared to conduct the work. And so what is the impact of advisory boards? So we have them in our departments, and And really, it depends, I guess, is the answer. It's different for every program and every advisory board. So, for example, in advisory boards, the department maybe decide, okay, based on input from the industry members, we need to change our curriculum, we need to change what we teach, we need to add something, maybe we need to change the order of the classes, or we need to replace classes because they're obsolete now, that's really not needed in the business sector anymore. Maybe we need to buy different equipment, something that's more up to date, that gives students the skills that they need. So advisory boards are very crucial for our departments because we hear straight from the industry what jobs are needed and what skills are needed for those jobs. Let's see. So,
Dr. Eady, could
Yes,
I
sir.
add something? You know, one of the things that I hope that each of the board members, each of you, will take from this is that we need your help in the community to stir interest for those advisory boards. So, you know, we get the best of the best that we've got in this community who sit on those because that's what drives what we do in our classroom and our curriculum. And so we need smart, good, active people on those advisory boards.
And really, the discussions in the advisory boards are driven by the industry. So an industry member is asked to chair the committee, and so, again, absolutely vital for us. So we also do department reviews internally. So that's for all programs, not only the career technical ones, that's for all programs, we do that. And so you see the Dean's Review with instructional departments. So it used to be Jane Anderson, and it'll be Dr. Fisher, who will be meeting with the departments. They talk about the health of the programs, maybe. So program and course reviews, how are things going? How is the program going? How are enrollments? Is what we teach still up to date? Do you foresee changes? Because if we do, there's a vehicle for that, right, Dr. Garrett? And also the budget reviews. So we do look at, obviously, enrollments tie into how many instructors we need. Our instructors meeting contact hours. Where are we with the budget? How is it going with the department? So different initiatives is what the dean talks about with the departments, and that could be maybe partnerships or with organizations or industry, maybe new recruitment opportunities that come along, maybe bringing guest speakers to the classroom that can help students turn interest in the program. So a variety of initiatives happen in the departments to make sure that the review, how we're performing, is conducted. Let's see. I think that's you, Dr. Gear.
Yes. Hello again. And as what she was alluding to about the process, we have what's called a curriculum review committee that looks at recommendations from the advisory boards and the departments for changes to programs. So that's what she was alluding to. And the curriculum review committee is run by the Institutional Effectiveness Department at CTC. So I've completed in the past an executive summary for Dr. Eid, well, really for the executive team to look at. And what it consisted of was a completer program evaluation. So each and every program, not just the degree, but each certificate, I completed a evaluation of summary of the number of completers for each of the past 5 years. And the last one was for the 2015-16 through the 2020 academic years. And the focus was on active programs, and we looked at the ones that had, and I listed in there the ones that had greater than 20 completers, and we had 73 of those, and those with less than or equal to 20, and we had 37 of those. And this was not a recommendation for any kind of closure. This executive summary was to give the departments and the executive team, especially Dr. Eid and now Dean Fisher, a little insight into the trends of these certificates and degrees to determine if maybe it needs to be really looked at more closely by the advisory board and the departments to determine if things need to change or if what kind of a trajectory we're on. Maybe this is something that does need to close, but this is totally not any kind of recommendation, just informational for the academic departments to review. And another place that we get the information about programs, we get a lot of assistance from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board in this as well. They provide a low-producing program report. Now, I am not aware of CTC, and it could have been before my time or many years before my time, but I've never been made aware of where we fell on this low-producing program report. And the reason for that is because the coordinating board rolls the certificates up into the degrees, and it's all based on SIP code. I'm going to talk a little bit about the SIP code in a second. But they look at it from a program level SIP code, and that's a classification of instructional programs. It's a nationwide code. And they look at anything with less than 25 graduates in a 5-year period per year type thing. So, or no, for over the 5 years. So if we fall in on that list, we get a notification that, you need to do something. However, this past year, there we go. We did have one program fall on the LPP list. And when I looked at this, I thought, this is very curious. Well, the reason it fell on the low-producing program list is because of that SIP code. I don't know if you can see.
We can't see it. It's too small.
Okay.
Well,
right here, the SIP code is 1512. A 15 SIP code is engineering. This program is the actual computer information systems. We have it mis-SIPed, as we call it in WECM. It wasn't put in the correct SIP. So while there are low number of completers, it would not have fallen on the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board low producing program if it had been SIPed in SIP 11, where computer science is, computer and data processing is. It would have rolled up into that, and it wouldn't have fallen on this list. It's not hurting us in the least bit because they recognize it. We're going to this is an opportunity for the department to either change the SIP code or look at the program to revamp it or do something with it based on the lower numbers. It's simple as that. Now, if it wasn't recognized as this is the issue, then we would have to address it with the coordinating board and tell them why we want to try to keep a program that's low producing or what we're doing to change it. So simple as that. And again, this is what they say. Completers of career and technical certificates are included with the count of similar applied associate degree completers. So that's the quote from the coordinating board on the LPP documents, if that helps you. So in other words, not only did my executive summary give us some insight into our program completion data, but the coordinating board helps us with that.
All right, so I'll share with you what we did after we received the list from Dr. Garrett and her team. So we looked at, so when I say we, Dean Anderson and I looked over the list and reviewed it to determine, okay, why do we have low completions there? And so really the key lies within the departments. So then Dean Anderson contacted all the departments and spoke with them as far as recommendations, either how can we bring up the number of completers or what actions do we need to take? Do we need to make some changes? So in here I'm sharing with you, I'm going to click so I don't need to worry what all's on the screen. But so one thing that we decided, or that the department decided, was they wanted to eliminate a certificate of completion in agricultural industries. So we still have other agricultural certificates and we still have the degree, but the reason they wanted to delete it is the department requested that is because the certificate is 51 hours, it's very long, it doesn't seamlessly feed into the degree, so probably a good decision the department made. Also, we noticed that the environmental science and the geology degrees have quite a bit of overlap, so the science department said, okay, we want to make sure we make some changes to that and see if we can merge those two. Also, recommendation was to eliminate the Associate of Arts in Modern Language. This is not quite happening yet because we have a new degree in the works, a Communication Studies degree. So of course, if this is something approved, it will come your way, but the department is working on that. And so the plan is to potentially replace the Modern Language degree with the Communication Studies one. Also, request was to eliminate the Associate of AAS Applied Science and the Certificate of Completion with the at-risk youth specialization, and that is in our mental health area. So there were, of course, other programs on the list as well, but, you know, department had different responses. So the ones I'm listing you here are the ones that we plan on eliminating. However, we also have other degrees, but the plan was maybe to increase enrollments, increase partnerships with industry partners, and let's see, a variety of other things to make sure, okay, first of all, we get more completers, and also we report all the completers. So one thing that the departments noticed is that, I think that topic came up before, that not all students who complete all the requirements for certificates or degrees actually apply for graduation. And so departments are looking at it. I know Dr. Garrett's team in graduation is looking at it. And so we want to make sure that we truly capture all of the completers. All right, and we're available for any questions you may have.
Dr. Garrett, how, all of this being said, and all of these things working all the time, we're like a duck on water. You know, what people see is just this beautiful little duck. We're all little feet under there, right? How are we affected, or how does the Southern Association affect what these changes are?
Well, any of the changes that Dr. Isd mentioned will have to go through approval process with SACS. So it will take some time. When we have to close out a program, we have to make sure that we don't have any students still on that program. We have to put them onto a different program because SACS is mostly concerned with negatively affecting students. So we have to document and demonstrate how every single student that's on that plan has been moved somewhere else, what we have done to ensure that we take care of any faculty and staff associated with any closure of programs. And there are many things involved from the SACS perspective. But also, just on the whole program evaluation process, I know this whole started, the reason for this presentation is there was a question from the board about how we evaluate programs and what we do. All of what we just explained to you has to be documented in our 5th year and our 10-year review for SACS. And all of it is the narrative about what we do to ensure that we have viable programs at CTC.
And this includes students and sites around the world, not
Yes.
just here.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Garrett.
Thank you.
Item number 8 on the agenda is the PBK contract renewal. Mr. Lawrence.
Good afternoon again. Next week, we'll be bringing a recommendation to exercise the third option period for PBK. PBK is our architectural and engineering firm. We have a number of projects that are either in progress now or will soon be, like the ADA project and the other the capital projects that was brought to the board last month. So having some continuity with the architect with a contract is certainly beneficial and helpful to us, just to make sure that we don't have any disruption in those projects. So the third option period will begin on April 1st of this year, and then the spend is estimated not to exceed $750,000. So we'll be bringing that forward this next week. I'm available for questions.
Any questions, Ms. Lawrence? Thanks, sir. Item number 9 is a sponsorship request from the Central Texas College Foundation. Mr. Salmon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Weaver, Board of Trustees, Chancellor Yiannopoulos. I'm bringing forth an item we're going to present for the board approval next week. The information has to do with our sponsorship requests. Under CTC Board Document 427, the CTC Board of Trustees provides sponsorship funds for events, projects, and activities. Selected. Community partners, nonprofits, organizations, and service clubs submit funding requests. The CTC Sponsorship Committee evaluates and recommends these requests, and the Board of Trustees approves amounts of $2,500 or greater. We'll be bringing forth a recommendation that has to do with requests for approval for the CTC Foundation request of $3,000 for the 28th Annual Foundation Golf Tournament on April the 22nd, 2020. All the proceeds from are raised from the tournament will go towards student scholarships at Central Texas College. The $3,000 as the title sponsor would be featured on a towel. CTC would be featured on a towel giveaway, a banner, a program, signage, and a tee box. The college will also receive recognition on all social media platforms and 12 months on the partners page for the CTC Foundation website. Additionally, CTC may enter one team of 4 in the tournament at no cost. Any questions?
The date of the golf tournament again is?
April the 22nd.
What's the anticipated net gain to the foundation from the proceeds?
I don't have that information, however, Ms. Payson might do that.
Yes, it's 10,000. That's our anticipated.
Yeah, go to the microphone. Yeah.
Hi, Valerie Payson, Foundation Director for Central Texas College. The predicted amount that we plan on raising from the golf tournament is around $10,000. That's our goal that we've set. We're within $600 of that now. So with all of the other sponsorships that we've received and 24 teams that we've already registered for the golf tournament. And we don't have the golf tournament until April 22nd, so we have a long way to go before we reach those goals that we've anticipated for ourselves. You're very welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Sandoval. While you're there, Ms. Mason, we'll go to the foundation board member nominations.
Well, good afternoon again. I'm really, on behalf of the CTC Foundation Board, it's my privilege to present for your approval nominees for the Central Texas Foundation Board membership. The nomination committee consists of 3 board members, Mr. Horace Grace, which is our board chair, Dr. Jim Anderson, which is our nomination chair, and Ms. Susan Fergus, which is our executive at-large membership chair. Each of the candidates complete a nomination application and submit that to our chair, Dr. Anderson. At that point, the application is then proceeded to go to the nomination committee for review and for approval. Once the approval is sought from the nomination committee, it's then submitted to the CTC Foundation Board for approval. And at our last meeting that was held on January 27th, the board approved the nominees as they were presented. The nominees consist of Ms. Sherry Hoffpower. Ms. Sherry Hoffpower has been in the Copperas Cove and Colleen area for over 45 years. She did attend Central Texas College and has worked in the communications and media industry for over 40 years. She continues to stay actively involved with her community in volunteering with the Greater Colleen United Way Board and the Advent Health Foundation Board. The next nominee is Miss Annie Cooper. Miss Cooper has been in the Central Texas area for over 40 years. She's employed as the Vice President at Bancorp South. She's held many volunteer positions in the community and she will be a great asset to the board. That's Ms. Sherry Hoffpower. The final nominee, that's Miss Annie Cooper, is Mr. Clarence Enox. And Mr. Enox has also been a resident of the Coppers Cove Colleen area for more than 40 years. He's a graduate of Coppers Cove High School, Central Texas College, and Texas A&M Central Texas. He's been in the area for over 40 years, and he continues to stay actively involved with his community in many nonprofits. He loves to give back to the community, and it shows. Thank you for providing me the time to present these three individuals on behalf of the Central Texas Foundation Board, and I believe that each of them will be an asset to our board. Does anyone have any questions about the nominees?
I think all of you know them.
How many board
Charles?
members are authorized in the foundation?
Currently, with the bylaws, we have 15. We have room for 15, and we have 11 that sit on the board actively.
That's before or after these three?
After the three are added, then we still have availability for one more. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Payson.
Okay.
I think everybody knows these individuals, and I know they're going to be a huge asset to the foundation, so congratulations to your board for nominating them.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is the Title IX report.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board, Chancellor. I'm here to provide the executive summary for the Title IX for the first reporting period, running from September 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. Next slide. During this time period, we had a total of 3 complaints that came in that met the criteria for Title IX. The first one was closed out prior to my arrival, and this case was not investigated due to the 2 individuals involved, the complainant and the respondent, being transferred back to KISD for their handling. The second case came in around mid-November, and this case is currently being actively investigated. It's gone through the whole process and is scheduled for a hearing on the 30th of March. And then the third case that came in around mid to latter part of December, this case involved the same respondent, but the complainant in this case, he's not, or this individual is not willing to participate in it. So right now, this case is on hold pending further investigation. At this time, subject to any questions.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, sir. Thank you. But I want to reiterate the board's complete support of our Title IX program and sex abuse or anything of that nature. So if we need to do anything to make sure it gets out to the employees, please let us know.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, on the, when you said there was one case that involved 2 KISD students?
Yes.
And they were transferred back to KISD?
Correct.
Do their numbers reflect the same as our number, or is it just all on us, or both?
So these numbers that you see before you are only for CTC. So
Okay.
KISD is tracking their own separate. So by them being transferred back to KISD for them to handle, we lost the jurisdiction to investigate
pursue.
that one further.
Okay, so it won't reflect on,
No, sir.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you.
Item number 12 is the board meetings. Since we have spring break coming up the 14th, 18th of March, that interferes with our normal procedure. Propose that we have the board workshop on the 22nd of March,
think, Debbie, did you provide each board member with a copy of this? I'm sorry? I haven't, okay.
And also give us a chance to get the March numbers for the
Financials.
financial report without having Bob to work over the holiday.
That's all when I do, sir.
We'll get even with you later.
The next item on our agenda is recommendation for upcoming agenda items or topics or announcements. Start Armstrong.
I don't have any for the next board meeting, but I would like to express mine, and I'm sure the rest of the board, appreciation for the information, because it's informative and will be helpful, and it's really a good presentation by all. Thank you.
Have nothing.
No, sir.
The announcement for the board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, February 22nd, 1 p.m. in this agenda. And if there's no other topic for discussion,